Well, are you average? That's the question of the day. So the Fed recently released the average net worth of American numbers for different age bands. And I'd like to spend a couple minutes today going through what they are, give you a sense where you stand, because I know I love to get a sense where I stand compared to others. Just in general, it's a good just gut check. And then I'll give my thoughts on each of the figures. Now, don't get insulted. We deal with a lot of people over a lot of different age bands, and there's a lot of circumstances that will lead to your net worth. And there's a lot of things that I'm going to say that there's exceptions to every rule. So anyways, let's hop in and just know that this is my gut check in working with more affluent people and averages that I would like to see. So under 35, the average net worth in our country is $76,300. This is a bit of a tricky one because you have people who are starting straight out of college that we all once were, or high school, and you have people that are 34, 35 years old that are maybe doctors at this point. So it's a big span. But generally speaking, we deal with people who have means, and in my world, if you're hitting 35, I would like to see you have at least 100,000 plus net worth. So that's my sort of loose gauge. Of course, if you're 21 or 34 and a half, it's a lot of difference, but I'm going to work with people or tell you my thoughts on people closer to the end game here of 35. So at that point, I'd like to see you have 100, maybe even $150,000 net worth. The next age band is 35 to 44. This is when you're starting to get that career under you. Maybe you hit six figures. You're understanding where you're going to go. And again, big age band, but I think certainly more narrow than the last. The average net worth for someone at that age group is $436,200. This surprised me a bit, to be honest. I'd say if you're a decent earner and we're talking and you're in your mid-40s, I think it'd be nice to see you have a net worth approaching that $1 million level. So if you're making a couple $100,000 and you're getting there in your mid-40s-ish, sort of the later end of this is really where you should be seeing things take off. Remember, it's not all just investments. Your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities. So you may have a $700,000 house with a $300,000 mortgage, so that's $400,000 there, and you need another $600,000 socked away in various, your spouse, if you have one's retirement accounts. Okay, next, 45 to 54. The average net worth here is $833,200. This is where I would get a little bit concerned because you don't have as much runway, and especially if we're starting to get into that mid-50 range where you have 5-10 years left to work. Generally speaking, having $800,000 isn't going to get you there. Again, you could work longer. There's a lot of variables, but I'm just speaking in generalities. By this point, I'd like to see most people be trending to get close to $1.5 million, even $2 million net worth by this age group. Because now we're really trying to get those assets to a level that they can grow, compound, and work for you into perpetuity, and have that soft landing into retirement and not have to worry about socking away these last bunch of years. Okay, now things get fun. Now we start getting from 55 to 64. The average net worth is about $1,175,900. This feels a bit light to me, candidly. Now, again, this is a wide swath of people in the whole country, from uber wealthy to barely getting by, and I recognize that. But if you're talking about sort of the people that we see in our office day in and day out, if you don't have pensions and things of that nature to give you sort of that buffer, 1.1 million and change is going to get you $50,000 to $60,000 of retirement income. Generally speaking, that's not going to get you there. That's not enough to cover you. So even some rules of thumb tell you want 10 times your salary saved in retirement by this age. So again, the average person that comes across our path is making a little more, has bigger concerns, and probably needs more than that. And I'd probably say double it in that range, $2 to $2.5 million. Next age bracket, 65 to 74. Average net worth, $1,217,700. This is interesting because this one spans kind of two gaps to me, or two age lifestyles. One is the heart of retirement. This is where you probably want that figure higher, back in line with that $2 to $3 million range of net worth, because you want debt's really mostly gone in a lot of cases, and this is generally the peak of your assets. But it's also your drawdown. This is where people are starting to draw down. That first half, mid-60s to 70, is some good living. That's your spending, you're traveling, you're doing it up. By your mid-70s, things are tending to slow down, and this number certainly can start to creep down from the peak, if you will, which we'll call somewhere in your early 60s to mid-late 60s is probably a lot of people's peak, assuming that they're not a runaway asset growth path. And the last group is 75 plus. The average net worth, $977,600. Again, this one's hard to pinpoint because you're talking 75-year-olds who are still going out, partying, doing their thing, and you have 92-year-olds who are really slowing down substantially, and their expenses and their lifestyle don't justify a ton. So I don't hate this figure. Of course, more is better. Depending on your age and your expenses, it's hard to generalize a 20-year age gap because it's really different. So of course, if you're on the earlier side of that, you want that figure to be higher. If you're sort of towards the later, once you're in your 80s or so, $1 million plus, generally is about what I would see in a lot of cases, or or in some at least. So that's my general take. Take it for what it's worth. It's a wide span. I think it's nice to level set yourself both on the average of what's out there in the country and the average of where sort of someone who sees this day in and day out recognizes and suggests. So anyways, I'm Andrew Rosen. Hope you enjoyed this. Stay wealthy, stay healthy, and stay happy.